Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching my video today. I hope you enjoy it. Today I'm going to be sharing an art journal page that I created. I'm going to be using a old planner. Well, it wasn't actually a planner, it was a notebook, and it's by the Happy Planner. So what I do is I take 2 pages out of the notebook, stick them together and give one side a coat of gesso so that it's ready to use when I want to make an art journal page. And because it's ring bound, I can take the page out of my journal and work on it nice and flat. I've done quite a few pages in this journal, and I think most of them have got a video, so I will link in the description box below to my art journal playlist, and if you see anything that you think you might like to see how it came together, well then the link will be below. I'm using Gelatos for the background of this layout. I'm going to use lemon, red cherry, tangerine, gold champagne and buttercream. I'm also going to use that fatter, bigger one is a Montmartre pastel glider, and that's in a reddy orange colour. It doesn't actually have a name on the tube of what the colour that is. So I'm just scribbling that all over the page. As I said, this page has had a coat of gesso. Now I'm using a baby wipe to just smooth those colours together, blend them together, and try and build up. I'm going to apply several layers of the gelato, so I'm just building up the colour until I get the intensity and the brightness that I want. You will find that I did the first layer with the baby wipe, and then I use a wet brush for the second layer, and then I also use just my finger, so as a final smoothing out and application of colour. I just went over the whole thing with my finger and blended them together until I was happy, as I said, with the colouring. Then I took the page outside and gave it a coat of this Boyle's matte spray finishing sealer, because the gelatos are not permanent. Once they're set down they will move again, and I didn't want my background changing. I set that aside to dry, and once it was dry I used this 13 Arts stencil. They don't have names on their stencils, so it's just like a broken circle stencil. I'm going to use this texture paint. It's something that I've had for a long time from my ceramic days, and it's got like a sand in it, and it has quite a rough, nice texture. It's called pumpkin, but I did add a bit of yellow to it. Not that that made much of a change to the colour actually. I actually wanted it more yellow, but I decided to go with the colour that was there and let this blend in more to the background. So I'm just using my palette knife and I'm applying that randomly into 3 areas on my background. I cleaned off my stencil and let that dry, and then I used the same stencil and some white frost pearl acrylic paint to apply some more of the same stenciling, probably 2 or 3 areas on my page, or maybe a bit more, maybe 4 or 5. I applied the white so that I could sort of lift the colour of the background. While that was drying, I used my Kaisercraft DD942 stitched circles. It's a stamp and die set, but I just used the die, and I cut an assortment of size circles from both black and white cardstock. I'm going to colour these using some acrylic pearl paints. I've got an assortment of blues, greens, turquoise and 1 yellow. I did the black and the white because I wasn't sure whether there would be any difference in how the colours appeared with the different coloured background, but I applied 1 coat of the base colour I probably applied 2 coats because it was fairly transparent, and then I used a darker colour to sort of just shade around the edges and let the 2 colours blend together. I will list the colours of the paints that I've used on my blog, so if you're interested in them you can check it out over there, but because they're from my ceramic days and probably 25 years old, they're probably still not available, but and you might find something close to it. Okay, so I did each one of those circles until I was happy with the blending and the colouring, and then I set them aside to dry. A little more work on my background now. I'm going to use jet black archival ink and an assortment of stamps to stamp onto my background. One of the stamps is a Kaisercraft stamp called Stains. The other 2, I don't know the names of. I think one came with a magazine, and I'm not sure about the other one. Anyway, I'm just going to use my black ink to stamp randomly onto my background using these 3 different stamps. Once again, I'm sort of sticking to that circle theme. I have to say that I haven't really got a plan apart from circles at this stage. I don't really know what my end product is going to look like, so I'm just winging it. Now I'm going to attach the painted circles. I've sort of picked out a few, and as I said, I can't see the difference now between the white and the black. The colour is the same no matter what, so I'm just going with my colour choices. I put them onto my background in a, well, how I think they look alright, and then I use my heavy gloss gel, my heavy gel gloss, to attach those to my page, and I will actually end up giving the whole page a coat of the gloss gel. Now that my gel is dry, I'm going to use my scissors to trim off around the edge where anything is overhanging. Now I'm going to use my Stabilo All pencil in black to add some shading to my circles. To do this, I draw around the outside edge of each of the circles, even where they overlap, and then I use a wet brush to blend that all pencil into the background. It's a personal choice how much you add or leave or take out. I prefer a smaller shadow. I'm not a big fan of a heavy shadow around my circles, so I'm going to add the water and then rub back with my finger so that I've got just the amount that I want. You can see I changed my brush because the first brush I used was too big, and so I'm going for a smaller brush. So I'm going to do that to every circle and on the page, so that the shading actually makes it feel like the circles become part of the page, and it helps to separate where the circles lay on top of each other, so it sort of defines each circle. In this fine line pencil I have some watered down black acrylic paint. I'm going to use this to draw or squibbly line around each of my circles. This once again will help to make each circle stand out and also just add a little bit more detail to my page. I also use the same black tube to put a squibbly border around my page. This paint actually is still thick enough that when it goes onto the page it is slightly raised, so it has got a little bit of texture to it. To add a highlight to my circles, I'm going to use some white acrylic paint. I'm going to add a little bit of water to that using a pipette, and then I'm going to use a flat brush to apply a little highlight, so sort of like a shadow but a white one instead, so it's a highlight, to the insides of the coloured circles. while I've got the white watered down paint there, I'm going to use my fan brush to apply a fairly liberal amount of white splatters to my page. I'm going to stamp my title. Well, I'm going to stamp and also use my label maker. But to do the stamping part, I'm going to use this Tim Holtz block lower foam stamps, and I'm going to stamp out Live and Life. Using these stamps, I'm going to put some black acrylic paint onto a stamping block, use my brayer to spread it out so I've got a nice even layer of black acrylic paint, dip my stamp in and stamp it onto my layout. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to stamp Live and Life. Now I'm going to use my Brother P-Touch labeler to print out the rest of the quote, which is your best. So the actual quote says live your best life. So I'm going to print that out and then attach it to my page between the two stamped words. I'm going to use my black Sharpie to put a squibbly border around that label that I've just attached so that it helps it blend in with the rest of the page and it looks like it belongs. So that's my page for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching my video, and I hope that if you're not already a subscriber, you might like to subscribe, and if you click the bell next to the subscribe button, you'll be notified each time I upload a new video. So thank you for being here, and I hope you can join me when I post my next video.